Orphan's Call is a rather interesting set, with most players being at least somewhat familiar with the individual parts and their uses, but very few bothering to assemble the full arsenal all at once. This is unfortunate since, taken individually, every single part of the set has value, just for different characters, builds, or even just situations, usually. This is partially because the full set bonuses are a bit lackluster, but also because the set has a distinct lack of partial set bonuses on the individual items as well. Just looking at the full bonuses, we have a low amount of resist all, a bit of strength and dexterity, and an okay amount of magic find and flat life, but nothing special compared to the other options, so items really do need to stand on their own, since if you're going to use a full set, you're going to need to favor the ones that basically give you the better bonuses in these slots. Now, some of the parts, like Yelm's face, are more than capable of fulfilling that need, thanks to some unique or high-powered bonuses. In the case of the helmet, this is thanks to the solid strength boost, deadly strike, and crushing blow. It's basically acting like a pair of gore riders on your face. It also packs okay defense and faster hit recovery for those that need it, making it an all-around useful addition to an arsenal. After that, we have the budget blocker shield, Winston's Guard, which due to some mechanical changes in the game used to be a lot more useful than it is now, but it's still not half bad. Basically, the shield just has an amazing boost to block chance, making it relatively easy for any class to hit max block rate, and it combines it with faster block speed so you wouldn't end up block locked. The rest of it is just odds and ends, such as half freeze duration, light radius, and defense boosts. It's just not as useful as it used to be, and even when it was just the budget blocker, it was just kind of an okay shield. The belt, Wilhelm's Pride, however, is a budget item that still has its budget uses, basically bringing you max belt slots, dual leech, and a pinch of cold resist. It's generally not going to be your endgame belt unless you need both leeches and can't get it elsewhere, but while grinding up stuff, it can be super handy to keep around. However, with competition from Mavinas, if you just need mana leech, or String of Ears if you only need life leech, it has always kind of struggled to find its place in most specialist builds, only filling the gap on those builds that absolutely need both leeches and can't get them elsewhere. Similarly, the Magnuskin gloves are limited to very specific cases where they would be ideal, although these are at least in more common spots like, cow farming. This is because Laying of Hands is hands down better in most areas of the game with mixed enemy types, including Act bosses, thanks to its boosted damage to demons, whereas Magnuskin, while focused on the same increased attack speed, only gets a decent flat attack rating boost in terms of offense. It is also unfortunate that they also pack lower fire resist than their main competitor, since it feels like that could have been another place to differentiate them, but it was not taken advantage of. And lastly, we have Wart's Leg. It's not actually part of the set, I just felt it appropriate to grab since he's an orphan too, and it's super common to find and gives us a little extra damage against undead in case this little pilferer next to us comes back like Griswold. Now, as far as set upgrades on this one, I would usually say no, though there is an argument for most of this set since they give percent boosts at, for the most part, reasonable levels, so if you're already going to have the strength, the extra defense would not be bad, just maybe not worth the co and lem cost for each piece. In terms of using the set overall, generally I would stick with picking the parts that fit best with your needs and just use them standalone. The set as a whole is not terrible, and you can find it relatively early on for what it does, with all the items being exceptional items with relatively reasonable Q levels. It's just most of it, with the exception of the helmet, will generally be upgraded out of by the time you're in the end game. So do you think Orphan's Call should get some improvements, maybe gain some perks when upgraded to allow it to continue to compete, or should it stay relatively dead in the water in the postgame like Wart here? Mention it down below, and as always, a special thanks to channel members, patrons, and supporters that help me spend a little more time on content for the channel. Oh, and if you didn't know, the peg leg actually does disappear from Wart's body whenever you grab it.